You ever seen Hansel and Gretel? No. I don't think I've ever seen it as anything other than, was it Grimm's Brothers Fairies Tales? Is that who it was? Anyways, this is actually like the oldest story. And what it is it's like a retelling of like a guy that was crash landed on a vampire's world. And what him and his family went through was a literal hell. Because he wasn't welcome there and he couldn't get it fixed. Because he wasn't that good at what he did. Anytime you hear anybody complain, anytime you hear anyone complain, if you got yourself in that situation, you should be able to get yourself out of it. That's the first rule. That's the last rule. Everything in between it's all up to you. That's sort of how things work. Now, he's on this planet. They make their home in the woods, naturally. They harvest, they ain't got shit. It's just like that, Star Wars Battle for Endor movie with the Ewoks in it. Now, not exactly. Now, what you see is that these two kids, they don't got nothing. Naturally. One day they're fucking around in the woods. They harvest their own bread. They cut their own trees, etc., etc. They have to do it all themselves. Right? You know exactly what you're looking at. I don't even have to tell the story anymore. But I'll finish. And when they walk through the woods, what do they see? A house made out of candy. Something that they would only dream about. Something so far beyond their reach and measure that they would in fact beg at the door. By design, not by design, it doesn't really matter. It's tempting, basically. And that's anything any advertisement gives you. Now, oh, come in, my dears, I will make you something sweet. You see how it's lineal? Right? You know exactly what that thing just did. You know exactly what it did. Right? Yeah, oh yeah. I am going to do that, aren't I? You're thinking about what I'm going to do to you right now. So, they go to the house, and, well, she tries to trick them into the oven. Like, I don't know, who would that be like? Some character in history, I can't remember who. So basically, what you end up coming away with is a story. It's very simple. Everything about it fits very nicely. It's like cookie cutters when you know what you're looking at. But what you're not looking at is who it is in the story. The Wicked Witch of the Woods. Most normally you see Baba Yaga. This character lives in a house in the woods in some kind of a stork tree house thing. It's basically the same character that you see in Hansel and Gretel. And Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. So here's the thing, it's not in regular Manda. What it's actually in is it's backwards and upside down, because that's something they learned there. I went to a planet where Vlad Tepes lived. My ship was in bad disrepair and array. They tried to eat us if we even tried to interact with them. That was the way it was, the way we were away. And then it is, in fact, the letter P, which is a word that they don't often use in Manda. And what it says is Kalurdadur Shiragalis Shiringadingaraster. It means, I have been asked to disavow all knowledge of this occurrence from the Mandar Holy Highness, because he was from a different set. He didn't have a kit. You understand what I'm saying? He wasn't made for war. He was made to Colin. He was there to sow the grain and reap the reward. He was there to build homesteads and move on. He knew how to do stuff, but he didn't have his tools. You understand? The tools he did have, he left in the shuttle. He didn't want them to see his tools there. You understand? And if they'd had those, they would have been the same as him. He made sure not to do it. And that's why he was still okay. Good, because do you know what they were? He said no. I tried to stay at least arm's length or a 10-foot pole away from them all. And they said, okay, don't talk about it because we don't want you to make a mistake. He said, I am not the one who makes mistakes. They are. And he said, no, you are. You crash. He said, I did not crash. I was struck. He says, you should have dodged it. Anyways, he is actually pretty well known. His name is Caridibus. Caridibus has his own spheroid. He is quite wealthy, as, you know, those type of guys go. He's been around the block. He has a story to tell. People think he's interesting. Now here's the thing. He's never had a problem. Ever. Some people say he sold his soul to the devil for a new ship. But he never had a new ship. He eventually got his running. They said, how do you fix a crashed ship on a hostile alien world like that? He says, very, very carefully, slowly, and methodically. He said, I had to hammer it in the night in a hole I dug where there was no sound escaping. And it took an absolute indemnity, which is their way of saying day after day, year after year, decade after decade. He said it took him all of 38 years to be able to fix it in their way. What they see as a year is like, I don't know, 10 days. So he was there almost 380 years. And he said it was hell. It was beyond torture. To see them fly around and do all their things while he hid on the ground. They knew he was there naturally. He had spoken to at least one of them, and they had him brought before them. He said, I've crashed, I'm going to repair, and I'm going to leave. They said, how soon? He said, as soon as it takes. Which is something they don't usually say. They usually say Calidibus. Not the Manda, but the Mandor. But he said Caparitius, which no one had ever said before. And they weren't sure what to see because they had never seen it before. And this is unusual for Vlad Tepes because he says he knows. He knew before they know, even. And he goes, I will wait. And he did. And his children fell, one by one, to the beast in the night. And he knew it. And all he could do was make more. And eventually he did go. He said he lost 208 children. And he said he doesn't see how they don't declare war. And they said, it is on you to declare war. We have not made a mistake. You know what our way is. We are a way of peace. We are a way of harvesting and sowing. We are a way of building and mechanizing. We are not your single solitary crash. He says, yes, I see the way. And that was it. And he went out and he landed somewhere safe with his one child, because his wife, of course, had been struck ill at some point in time and then did pass. And they set up a homestead, and then he was better than anyone. He could do it in half the time. He could do it in a third of the time even. He had already seen things none of them had ever seen. It wasn't like he was a thief or he was copying anything. The situation came up. He already knew how to handle it. They were all beginners compared to him. And you say, well, was he the first of his kind or something? No, not exactly. He was about the third ray. And a ray is about 10 billion. But they went out in all different directions. That's how they did things back then. That's how they set it up. Supposedly, his ray was absolutely decimated because of the Incaselian, which was a series of vampire incursions into Amador, which was a space that used to exist far, I will just say, in the north. And everyone said, well, why don't they? He said, they are no longer there. Everyone said, well, what happened? They were destroyed, and then they took the planet saying it was theirs and they claimed it. Well, how did they do that? They had never seen the space narwhal before, but he had already had it. This was something he had back, oh man. This is about I think they say 7th. But to us, I think it was in the beginning of the end of the first era. Right about then. So this guy's old, right? This guy's crazy old now. So he's seen that thing. And he built one. Now it's property of Manda. And since then, he's been very, very well-to-do. Not like well-to-do like they are. Well-to-do like he were. And that was the way he was always meant to be. And he always said, if I saw it again, I'd go back and I would try to set things right. He said that day will never come because they are cowards and they will never stand their ground. And he said, and I'm infuriated until the end of my day that no matter what I believe in is a lie. That we are it. They are not. And he did his whole recitation that he'd always been trained to do from his tube, from his first days. He said, I am upset in my own way. And I know it's not their fault. And I know it's not me. He said, and I can't even say anything about it. So it took me a long time, and I wrote this story. And then I decided it was no good. I said, this is war. I am it. And I do not make it. And I went back and I revised it until it was so simple no one could tell what I felt. And I said, it is good. If someone sees it, they will see it. I will make sure it stands out like a sore thumb. And that is what I see. And you say, well, why do you see that? Well, because they don't know they're imitating it. They're not very bright. I'm a dabbit. Yeah. See, I know somebody that's almost just like that guy. Almost exactly like that guy. Let's say it's the 14th ray of that guy. And I know those guys. And if they were in that sort of a situation, you know what? I would count them out. I really would. But not this one. Nope. 1 in a billion. 1 in a trillion. And that's a story. And it's not even good enough. Because it's war. But it's not war. It's asking for war. And that's not how they do it. I think he came to terms with it. You know? You gotta be real careful out there. You understand? People around here, if you say something, they repeat it. They repeat it, they repeat it, they repeat it, they repeat it. If you play a new guitar lick, they copy it. They copy it, they copy it, they copy it, they copy it. If you draw a specific way, they imitate it. They imitate it, they imitate it, they imitate it, they imitate it. No matter what it is. One of them will say, oh, that's me. That's my way, see. Yeah. It's very uninteresting. So I see them go out and do things. They want to be a rock man. They want to be a singer. They want to be exactly what someone else is. They don't want to be what they were. Oh no. Do they want to be Billy from Polk Street that has to go to school every day so he can make it? Oh no. No sir. He will never be that. He can see on a TV, he could do 999 times 10,000 times better. Because that guy does, and he is the same as that guy. He can imitate that guy in 1 second. See, Billy isn't very smart. He's not very bright. Imitation, the word imitation seems to get lost in their brain matter at some point in time. It is inferior. It is not the original. It is not as good. It is a copy. It is a clone, and it's not the same quality. Because when he made it, it was his life's work. And when you did it, it was a joke, a gaffe, a limerick, or a political asparatesia, or something like that. And I know this isn't a great story. I know it doesn't mean shit to you. You know what you're gonna do? You're gonna do now? You're gonna imitate it. But just this one time, you're not going to. Isn't that right? Yeah. I know. If you sit there in your garage and practice for a 10-year period to be the best guitar player ever, and you go out there and you show someone without making sure you are going to make something happen, you have committed suicide. Because they're out there. It's because you're not that bright. But now it doesn't matter anymore. They've gotten hip to it. They can just decide whether or not you make it. I don't have to think too hard about it. I already know. They're Satan. You're Satan. You're literally Satan. The more you say my name, the more you disavow God. Because you don't see God. You don't see anything the way I do. I sat there for a year, more than a year, and I made some cookie cutter, basic bitch shit, and they said no. No one can see it. I am a god to you. And I go, okay. But I don't even get to see the Amanda Highness Council or anything like that. Nope, it just happens automatically. Why is it automatic? Do they fear me? Do they fear retribution from someone they have absolutely destroyed on a whim, on a flailing wrist flap? Perhaps they fear it the way they are. It that fears me, that it destroys on a whim with a flailing wrist flap. I don't have to think too hard about it. Because if they can get away with that, they can definitely get away with worse things. And I don't think it doesn't hurt me in my heart the way they think it does. Because they've seen it 1,000 times before, but I'm not the one doing it. You understand? No, of course not. Now, I'm going to tell you one more thing. That is a way Vlad Tepes. But here's another thing. There's something called theft. Theft. And it does sound like a way Vlad Tepes, doesn't it? But like I said, he's very lineal. Lineal. I am not akin. I don't know how to put it. It's something like that. That's okay. I'm sure you got the point by now. I'll stop beating this horse. Stop beating this dead horse. Do you know what that means? Beating a dead horse? To have sex with your grandma's children. Did you know that? Probably shouldn't say it.